They say a man's life is a thread in the hands of the fates. But Achilles was not a thread. He was a burning line of fire across the dark. Long before the clash of shields at Troy, before his name became a war cry, there was a child in the arms of a desperate mother. Thetis, the sea nymph, knew a terrible truth. Her son was destined for greatness and an early grave. So she carried him to the river Styx, where the waters whisper of death and eternity. The air there was cold and heavy, smelling of iron and deep earth. The river moved like a black mirror, reflecting nothing of the sky. She held him tight. She was trembling. Then she plunged him in. The Styx bit into his skin like ice and fire together. It carved invincibility into his flesh, sealed his muscles with a godlike hardness. But Thetis's fingers, clutching his tiny heel, kept one part of him untouched. One flaw, one weakness, one future wound. When she pulled him out, the child screamed, not in fear but in outrage, as if his soul understood the bargain made on his behalf. He would be almost a god, almost untouchable, almost immortal, and almost is the cruelest word in any language. Years passed. The boy became a storm in human shape. Under the watchful eye of Chiron, the wise centaur, Achilles learned to draw the bow, to wield the spear, to run like a shadow across the hills of Thessaly. He trained until his lungs burned and his muscles shook. Pain did not frighten him. Pain was a teacher. Pain was proof he was still alive. But even then, whispers followed him. He will be the greatest warrior of his age. Achilles heard those words again and again, around campfires, in the pauses between training drills, in the way older men looked at him, half in awe, half in pity. One night, when the stars hung low over Pelion, Chiron laid it out with brutal honesty. You have a choice, the centaur said. Stay here, live long, be forgotten, or go to Troy, win everlasting glory, and perish. The mountain wind was cold, the trees creaked, somewhere far below, wolves howled. Achilles stared into the dark and felt something stir in his chest. Pride, hunger, defiance. The thought of a quiet life sickened him. To grow old, to fade, to become a name no one remembered. I was not born to be forgotten, he said. He chose the blaze over the shadow. When the call to war came, Helen stolen, kings insulted, honor wounded, it was not really about a woman or a throne. It was about destiny, sharpening its blade. The Greek ships gathered like a forest of black masts on the shore. Armor flashed, standards snapped in the wind. Men shouted, laughed, pretended not to fear the sea or the omens. And then Achilles arrived. He stepped out from among the Myrmidons, his own chosen warriors, bronze armor fitted like a second skin. His hair fell like a tawny mane around his shoulders. His eyes were calm, too calm. The other kings saw him and felt it, a shift in the air. This was not just another man marching to war. This was a turning point. Among them stood Agamemnon, high king, swollen with power and pride. He saw Achilles as a weapon, a tool, something to aim and unleash. But tools do not have souls, and Achilles did. A fierce, burning soul that bowed to no one. At Troy, the years bled together in dust and blood and screaming. Spears broke, friends fell. The walls of the city glowed at sunset like a promise and an insult. Every day, Achilles proved the prophecy right. He carved a path through Trojan ranks, moving with terrifying speed and grace. Men who spoke his name with contempt in the morning whispered it with dread by night. He killed and killed and killed. But even the greatest warrior is also a man trapped inside his armor. Achilles had a tether to his own humanity. Patroclus, friend, brother in all but blood. The one who could laugh in his face and call him stubborn. The one who saw the boy under the bronze, the child who had been hurled into a river of death for the sake of glory. In quiet moments between battles, they sat side by side, cleaning blood from their weapons, the sea murmuring in the distance. Troy's walls loomed on the horizon. "Do you ever regret it?" Patroclus asked once, "choosing this fate?" Achilles paused. fingers tight around the cloth. "If I had stayed home, I would still die one day," he said. "But no one would know I had lived." Patroclus shook his head. "I would know." The words struck deeper than any spear. Achilles looked at him, and for a heartbeat, he felt the pull of another life. A small house, shared laughter, children playing in dust, unaware their father could have been more than a legend. But legends do not live in small houses. They live in songs, and songs demand sacrifice. It was pride that cracked the fragile balance, Achilles' pride and Agamemnon's. When the High King took Briseis, the captive Achilles had claimed, it wasn't just a theft of a woman. It was an insult, a challenge, a hand striking across the face of the greatest warrior alive. Achilles withdrew. He refused to fight, refused to lift his spear, refused to bleed for a king who would treat him like a servant. So, the Greeks suffered. Troy surged forward, emboldened. Their Prince Hector burned ships, broke lines, shattered morale. Men died in heaps on the sand, while Achilles watched from his tent, rage flickering beneath the surface like a hidden coal. War thundered without him, and fate waited, patient. Patroclus could not stand it. He saw comrades die. He saw hope vanish from their eyes. He came to Achilles, desperation in every line of his face. "Let me go," he said. "Let me wear your armor. The Trojans will see the gleam of it and think Achilles has returned to the field. They will fall back. We will live." Achilles looked at him and felt two wars raging inside, one against Agamemnon, the other against his own heart. He wanted the Greeks to suffer without him, to feel his absence like a wound. But he could not watch Patroclus break under the weight of it. "Take it," he said at last. "Wear my armor. Drive them from the ships. But do not chase Hector to the walls. Do you hear me? Do not go too far." Patroclus smiled, relieved. "I'll be back before you miss me." He would not. On the field, wrapped in Achilles' shining armor, Patroclus became a living lie. The Trojans faltered. They fled. Hector, noble and doomed, saw an enemy he believed to be Achilles and made his stand. Steel met steel. Dust rose. A single decision ended everything. When the news came back, Patroclus slain, stripped, Hector triumphant, Achilles did not weep at first. He did not speak. Something inside him simply split. The man who had refused to fight for honor now burned to fight for love, for grief, for revenge. He went back to war, but he did not return as he had been. He moved like a storm without direction, a god of wrath in mortal flesh. Men scattered before him. Hector alone stood his ground. Their final duel was the axis on which the whole war turned. Two men, two destinies. Hector fought for his city, for his wife and child, for the chance that Troy might stand another day. Achilles fought for Patroclus, for the boy who had said, "I would know," and meant it. The battle was brief. Achilles' spear found its mark. Hector fell. His last breath left his lungs in a soft, shocked sigh, more human than heroic. The Prince of Troy died, and with him, the last real hope of his city. But victory did not bring Achilles peace. He dragged Hector's body behind his chariot in a fury that shocked even the gods. Day after day, he circled Troy, the corpse bouncing in the dust, his rage burning hotter than any funeral pyre, until a father came in the night. Priam, king of Troy, old and broken, slipped into the Greek camp and knelt before the man who had killed his son. He kissed the hands that had taken Hector's life and begged for the body back. "Remember your father," Priam whispered. "Think of him. Think of the grief he would feel if he knew you were lost." In that moment, Achilles saw himself from the outside, not as a hero, not as a demigod, but as a son, as a boy, as someone else's child, destined to break his parents' hearts. His fury flickered, then slowly faded. He wept. He returned Hector's body, and for a brief, fragile time, the war paused under the weight of shared sorrow. Achilles' own end came as it had been foretold, not in a blaze of invincible glory, but in a single, precise wound. An arrow, guided by Apollo, found the one place the Styx had not touched: his heel, that small human hinge between life and death. The pain was white and absolute. It tore up his leg, into his chest, into his heart. As he fell, Achilles felt the weight of everything he had chosen: glory over anonymity, a brief, burning life over a quiet, long one, songs over silence. His name would never be forgotten, but he would never see old age. He would never see peace. In the end, he lay among the dust and trampled grass, the greatest warrior of his age, undone by the smallest part of himself. Around him, men shouted and fought and died. Above him, the sky went on, indifferent and endless. They carried him from the field. They built him a tomb. They told and retold his story until it grew larger than the man who had lived it. And that is how Achilles lives now. Not in flesh, in memory. In the hush before battle, when soldiers test the edges of their blades and wonder what their lives will mean, in the whispered prayers of mothers who fear the price of greatness, in the hearts of those who stand at the crossroads between safety and destiny. He is the question every soul must face. Is it better to burn bright and vanish, or to endure in the shadows, unnamed? The world moves on. Empires rise and fall. New heroes take the stage. But somewhere, on the dark banks of the Styx, a child still screams as he is plunged into the river, and a mother still holds his heel too tightly, and the legend of Achilles begins again.